Morning. Good morning, everyone. It's
Morning. So is Gary not coming today?
I hadn't heard yet.
Okay.
Good morning. Today is Tuesday, February the 11th, and it's shortly after the 10 o'clock hour. We're here at 901 Main Street in the heart of Old Town Conyers for our scheduled board meeting this morning. We call this meeting to order. I'd like to start our meeting off with our very good friend, Pastor Carolyn Thomas, to lead us in invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Thomas.
Good morning, Chairman.
Morning.
If everyone would bow their heads with me in agreement with the Lord's Prayer. O great and mighty Father, our Creator, thank you for this another opportunity to come before you and putting you first in the things, oh God, that concerns all people. We lift up these governmental and business plans and proceedings up to you. We recognize that the sovereignty of the rulership of all land and people is yours, and that the government rests upon your shoulders. And that you have given to us the responsibilities to carry out that which concerns all mankind and that which is good and right in your sight. Lead us and guide us in the way that is just and fair for all people. Bless these proceedings, O God, that those that are to come, even those that are to come, and those who are given stewardship as leaders over every department and jurisdiction will exercise full authority in carrying out their responsibilities, beginning with the chairman of the board and all respective persons who are in leadership. Continue to bless our land and watch over it and keep it. Give the people who are in leadership wisdom and counsel from you. Help them to feel confident to carry out the work in which they have undertaken. In all these things we ask of you that you bless us as we do our just duties. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor Thomas, for leading us in the words of invocation and opening our meeting for us this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance. This morning, we have a couple of presentations this morning, and we'll start with the Rockdale County Extension Service, the Beams Program. We always get excited when they come in. Mary Beth, always good to see you. Yes, indeed. And you brought some backup with you here too, I see. Absolutely. Not that you needed any backup.
It's a team effort. We work well together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall we run for?
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you hold on 1 second? Our slides are not on this screen.
There we go.
So
We should introduce ourselves.
I'm Charlene Scott. I'm from Rockdale County Extension Office. I work for the 4-H department specifically. I'm a 4-H program assistant.
And I am the Family and Consumer Sciences Extension Agent, but I have a 25% 4-H appointment as well. So this is a youth-focused program.
Very good.
So we just wanted to bring this program to you guys and share a little bit about BEAMS, which stands for Building Education Around Mental Services. So this project we were given the opportunity to put on. We received grant funding from Morehouse School of Medicine. We also had money from Rockdale County, and we used different partners, the Rockdale,
So we got some matching funds from the Hospital Authority of Rockdale County, and Viewpoint Health, and the school system really worked with us together. We had the idea, and I believe you, Chairman, you sent people to a healthy communities type of summit, and from what came out of that, we realized that what we really needed was some kind of mental health event for youth, because Commissioner Williams has been doing so much amazing work for adults, and we wanted to kind of partner and do our part with serving another part of the population.
So our goal was to bring awareness to mental health concerns specifically in youth, and teach them ways to cope with them. So like I said, our funding came from Morehouse School of Medicine, the HARC grant, Rockdale County, and then the Extension Office put together. We had $20,000 that we used to put on these 2 events.
Very good.
During these events, we had 12 adults attend a youth mental health first aid class hosted by our office, and the school helped us. They came in and taught the class. So all extension staff at Rockdale County Extension Office are certified in youth mental health. We also had some people come from Parks and Rec and be certified there as well.
Very good.
We also had our youth board do a public service announcement based around youth mental health, trying to raise awareness, and it was aired on Rockdale 23. As far as advertisement, we had these events on January 28th and February 25th of last year. So about this time last year, we did 2 events back to back, and just wanted to show some of our examples. Each event started with a dinner. So the youth got to eat, got a good meal. If it starts at 5:30, you got to feed them if they're going to come. We did goodie bags. They got to choose 2 out of 8 different classes. And then we also had licensed professional therapists on site to triage if needed, if something came up.
Yes, so you have in your packets the slides, but you also have the program from last year. So it was kind of a choose your own adventure. There was a menu of 8 different classes where we had people, I think, from juvenile court and from the school system and Viewpoint Health and different arenas, and UGA extension as well, to teach kids different coping strategies or have guided conversations. And we wanted to really make it clear that everyone goes through stress. Everyone needs good self-care and coping mechanisms. And sometimes it does tilt into the world of mental illness or something that needs more professional help, but all of our teens and all of our adults too need to learn better ways to handle just the life that comes our way, and things can get more and more dicey if we don't get those coping strategies early. And we're seeing really real conditions that kids are getting treatment and getting better, or they're not, and it starts them on a trajectory of really awful choices and potentially substance abuse and homelessness and all different things that we would love to really see what we can do now, but in a fun and an uplifting way, to help get kids the support they need now rather than later.
So this is the program she was talking about. Kind of has our outline of events and then the outline of classes. We did choose fun names for them so that the kids would have something fun to look at. As you can see, Teen Chat was actually our most popular class, and when we did a survey, they said that was the most fun, which really surprised us because they sat in a circle and just talked. Whereas all the other classes, they actually had like a hands-on component where they made a puzzle or they made a dice or something like that, where they did yoga. Where Teen Chat, they really just want a place that they can talk and share, a safe, comfortable place that they can share in.
I guess one other thing is we have a keynote speaker to kind of talk about a story of hope and overcoming. And part of that is also, maybe you had all this fun, you did yoga and you did a craft, and now you might have gone home, but you really needed to have something stirred in you and be able to talk to a licensed professional therapist or counselor right then. And so we really wanted to have an opportunity for them, if they needed to get pulled aside and needed to start getting into counseling or something more serious, that this was a gateway for them that way.
Fantastic.
So we called it Back to Reality because we kind of get stuck in this bubble of, oh, I'm having so much fun. Mental health can be fun, can be stressful, but come back to reality. This is your everyday life. Let's bring it back down. What are you dealing with every day? Now, how can we address that? So we had 171 participants over the 2 events, and we had 12 of those 171 meet with professional counselors on site. So that was a big deal for us. We do have some quotes up there from people. They realized mental health was very important, and they learned how to cope with the stress and things that they didn't necessarily know before they started the event. Rockdale County Extension applied for an award, so we won the 2019-2020 Outstanding Extension Program in the 4-H division, so this is among the whole state. So all of the 4-H programs in the state could apply, so we applied and we won at our winter conference. So that's a picture of our director, Brittany Teets, receiving the award from Arch Smith, who is the, what's his official?
Program leader.
Program leader of 4-H. I can never remember his official title.
And that really meant that it was an innovative program that met a current need in the state.
So coming up, we have our next event. We have decided to, even though the grant has run out, we have decided that it is such a need in our community, we are going to continue to do this. So at least annually, we are going to partner with Rockdale County Schools, of course, Rockdale County, and then the Extension Office will all come together to do this event. So we have another event coming up on March 12th. It will be at RCA, and the link is on there for youth to register. If they register via the Qualtrics survey, we'll get their registration. They'll get a registration bag when they show up, and it can help us figure out how much food to get.
Yes, and is the next slide about, is that the last slide? Okay, so we want to have at least 8 classes to keep class sizes small and intimate so kids can get the education or the support that they really need. And so if anyone in juvenile court or the school system or anyone who works with youth or mental health is interested and has an idea for what you'd want to do in a 30-minute block to help our teens, so it's for 6th through 12th grade, we're still taking applications, and you can email Director Teets about that.
Email Charlene Scott
Right,
about
it's
that.
not up there.
Sorry, we forgot to change that.
And we're gonna post one of these in the admin building, and we're gonna ask Parks and Rec about maybe at Johnson Park, and we have maybe 4 more if there are other locations in the county. They're posted in every school.
So every middle school and high school has 2 posters.
Very good.
For them to look up and register.
Yes.
Fantastic. Is there a number, I know you talked about the registration online, is there a number someone could call if they need a little bit more information?
Yes, so they can call us at our office.
Slow enough for them to write it down.
It's 770-278-7373. 770-278-7373.
Commissioner?
Oh, I have lots to say. But I think the most important thing as I was listening to you is, as I'm working now specifically with our criminal justice and mental health and addiction programs, so much of what is happening there started in their childhood with either trauma or mental illness, and that didn't get addressed or treated. And so, it's such a great way to kind of maybe head off some of those future problems. Mm-hmm. I have a granddaughter that has been seeing a therapist, and I can't tell you what a difference it's made, just the chance she has to talk to somebody else besides mom and dad. Mm-hmm. She smiles all the time. She has a happy face. She did tell me that she was seeing a podiatrist, and I asked her what was wrong with her feet. She meant psychiatrist, but that's not who she's seeing. Then later she said, no, it's a therapist. But so kids are cute and funny, but they need an outlet to address their self-care. Mm-hmm. How do they advocate for themselves? How do they, deal with failure when it comes up? Because it comes to everybody. Yeah. And you know that I love this program that you're doing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mary Beth and Charlene, we can't thank you all enough for this program. Mm-hmm. So many young people, and particularly in 2019, here in Rockdale County alone, there was a tremendous amount of youth who experienced suicide or suicide attempts right here in our own backyard in Rockdale County. To have a program like this that really focuses on engaging our youth in a fun and exciting way and talking about how to cope, having coping skills. It's a different world we live in now, and young people, youth, are totally different than youth of the past in terms of being able to cope and how to deal with things, stress management. Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Williams, this all started, I had an opportunity last year to attend the NOBCO, which is the National Association of Black County Officials Annual Economic Development Conference. During that conference, they talked about engagement with our youth and the rate of suicide. From there, they linked me to the folks down at Morehouse College here in Atlanta. And we were able to send a delegation down there, as you all are aware. That planted the seed and started the ball rolling. And here we are with a wonderful program that really engages our youth and really takes a different approach in making sure that we have them an opportunity to talk, and they have someone they can listen to, as the commissioner was talking about, not just mom and dad, but somebody else who would really be in tune with some of the things that they're dealing with. Mental illness, as we know, is the talk of the town, so to speak, all across the nation. We here in Rockdale County, I think with the help of Commissioner Williams, have done a fantastic job. Now the focus being on the youth, the young people who are struggling and who don't know how to cope. We really, hats off to you all, Mary Beth and Charlene, for making certain that our young people here in Rockdale County have options and alternatives in terms of people and places they can reach out to. You all do a fantastic job over there. Let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here this morning. Next up, more exciting. I am super excited. I think, Director Holmes, that everybody in the county has used your term, has used your phrase, super excited. I mean, you've got us all saying that. She came here starting that whole thing about being super excited, and I believe Pastor Salad, everybody in Rockdale County is now using that super. So I'm super excited about our next presentation, none other than our Chief Board of Election Supervisor, Ms. Cynthia Willingham. Give Cynthia a round of applause as she comes to the podium. Cynthia has been representing Rockdale County for a number of years, doing a fantastic job along with the Board of Elections. I see Pastor Al Sadler, who represents the Board of Elections. He's here this morning. They do a fantastic job making sure things are done by the book, as well as Miss Renee Pfeiffer. Give Renee, that's right, give Renee, absolutely. Renee, I'm old school and I say it all the time. There's never a good Batman without a good Robin. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cynthia, tell us something. You got good news for us this morning. I see you shining and bright. Give us some good news.
I have great news this morning, and good morning, everyone. Good morning. The presentation that I am going to present today, I want to thank a couple directors and their staff for helping us to put this together. So the Board of Election don't do this alone. It takes teamwork with the other departments, and I want to thank Director Diaz and his staff for putting videos together for us, to thank Director Sanders and her staff for ensuring that we have everything that we need when it comes down to maintenance, moving equipment, whatever it is that we need to do to test all of our voting facilities to ensure that we have the electrical capacity to run the new voting equipment. So I want to thank them for that. I also want to thank Director Yerverton and his staff. We have Maurice Ficklin with us today, who has been a great help to us, and some of the things that you all would see today is as a result of the technology department helping us. Yes. Also, again, to recognize my chairman, Mr. Aldrin Sattler, Board of Election, and to recognize my assistant director, Renee Pfeiffer, and to thank you guys for being here to support me. Commissioners, do I have the clicker? You'll do it for me? Thank you. See? Just to start off, we have some great information, commissioners, for you and for our citizens. Starting off, just to let you know the number of registered voters that we have in Rockdale County. We have a total of 61,657 active voters and a total of 3,889 inactive voters, giving us a total of 65,496 voters in Rockdale County.
That
When we
is
talk
up
about
quite a
inactive
bit.
voters, these are voters that are still eligible to vote. So although they're inactive, it just means that they need to make contact with our office when they show up to vote. That's a form of contact. So those individuals are eligible to vote in Rockdale County. Board of Commissioners, what's before you, we have several elections coming up this year. This is our 2020 election event schedule, starting with the March 24th election. The voter registration deadline is February 24th. We have already started mailing absentee ballots. Any citizen or voter that would like to register to vote or get an absentee ballot by mail, they can contact our office at 770-278-7333, and I'll say it again, 770-278-7333, and we will be happy to tell them how to get the application from us and to make their request by mail. Also, early voting will begin for the March 24th election on March 2nd. And on March 2nd, board members, what's before you is the sample ballot. This sample ballot will be included in every water bill in Rockdale County. We're working with the water department to continue to include the water bill in the sample ballot in the water bills. So we ask our citizens to look for the yellow copy as you see on the screen. But also something good to say to you all and to our voters is that we will continue early voting at Parker Road. So we have had early voting at Parker Road since 2006, and we want to continue that, and we have worked it out where we will continue early voting at Parker Road. But also, for the first time this year, we have 2 new early voting centers, and we have one on the south end, and that's at Conyers Church of Christ, located at 1410 Flat Shoals Road. That's at the corner of Flat Shoals Road and Old Salem. And also on the north end, where our voters don't have to travel all the way into the city to vote, we will have a north early voting center located at St. Simon's Episcopal Church. It's located at 1522 Highway 138. That's right next to Pine Log Park. So we're trying to make voting in Rockdale County as convenient as possible for our voters. In addition to that, board members, on the copy, you see the early voting periods. Early voting starts on March 2nd, will end on March 20th. We also have a Saturday voting, which will be March 14th. So we want to make sure that our voters are aware of that. With the new votings, with the early voting, we have new voting equipment. And at this time, I would like to show a video of our new voting equipment.
Really quickly, the March election, that's the presidential primary only, though,
That's the
correct?
presidential preference primary, and I'll talk about the difference between our local primaries and the March 24th presidential primary as soon as we watch the video. Thank you. Board members, as you see, the new voting system that we have is still touchscreen. The difference between the old and new is now you get a piece of paper in your hand. That piece of paper is your actual ballot. You actually get to review your ballot before it's fed into a tabulator to count your ballot. So unless you're satisfied with that piece of paper, it will not be fed into the tabulator until you're ready and until you're satisfied. If you would like to make a change on your ballot, we can spoil the ballot and issue you another ballot.
Fantastic.
So we're proud to say that. We also have the voting unit here with us. We will be here after the meeting. Anyone that want to take a try at the new system is
Y'all went all
available
out.
to
You
be
actually
here.
brought the unit with you this morning?
We brought the
Shut
unit
the front
with
door.
us, so
right.
we're prepared and ready.
That's all right.
So we can show that equipment. Also, the difference between primary elections, and I think it's important that our voters understand, the March 24th election, we're actually voting for the presidential candidates that we would like to see on the November ballot for each of the parties. It's just the Democratic, Republican parties in the state of Georgia. So those are the two ballots that you have a choice of. In Georgia, you declare your party when you go to vote, not when you register. So in the state of Georgia, you do not register to vote by party. You actually declare your party when you show up to vote. So that's something that we want voters to understand. May 19th, we will have our local primary. And on our local primary ballot, we have commissioners, sheriff, tax commissioner, state representatives, state senators. Those races will be on the ballot to determine who go on to the November ballot for our local primary. We also will have a federal special election on the ballot, which would be the U.S. Senate race because of Senator Isaacson retiring. So that will be a special election that will be on the primary ballot and determine who go on to that November ballot.
Which date will that one be on?
May 19th.
May 19th.
On the May 19th.
But don't we, Senator Perdue's seat is
Is also up,
So
and
we're
that's a
actually voting
regular.
for two senators
We will be
this
voting
time.
for 2 U.S. Senator seats. And more information would come to voters as we get closer to the May 19th election. But for March 24th, we also have a video that will be on our local website for voters to actually go out to the website to see this video of all our early voting location. And I'll ask that video show quickly now.
We're here on Commercial Drive in front of the new Board of Elections headquarters. It's just over the bridge on Parker Road. You can't miss it. The election date for the presidential preference primary is March 24th, 2020. Early in-person voting takes place from March 2nd to March 20th, with Saturday in-person voting taking place on March 14th. Thanks to Rockdale County leaders, we'll also have 2 brand new early voting locations. A north precinct located at St. Simon's Episcopal Church at 1522 Highway 138 Northeast, Conyers, Georgia 30013, and a south precinct located at Conyers Church of Christ at 1410 Flat Shoals Road, Conyers, Georgia 30013. Mail-in voting will take place from February 4th to March 20th. However, you'll need to request a mail-in ballot in writing by fax to 770-785-6932 or email it to absentee@rockdalecountyga.gov. The former Board of Elections office located here at 1400.
Thank you. And board members, the final item that I would like to present, which is something that we're very proud of, and I would like to thank the technology department for working with us on this. For the first time, voters would be able to go on our website, the county's main page, to see a link that will tell them the wait-in times for early voting as well as election day. And we have a short demonstration here. When the voters go out to click the link, this is finding your polling place as well as the items where you see green and red. If it's in red, it tells you that it's a longer wait time. If you see green, that means it's a go, that you can go to that location and vote. And he's hoovering over. If you see yellow, it's just a little slow. It will look a little bit better than this. This is our test that we're running, but also to the right of the screen, when a voter put in their address, they will be able to know what precinct they're assigned to, when the early voting and election day voting period is, and where. And the last thing on this one is that voters, we have a site where voters would be able to also determine who their elected officials are. A lot of voters don't know who their elected officials are. So if you click county commissioner, this is what the voter would see. So we have your pictures out there if they were available. So voters, and this is important because when we send these sample ballots in the mail, voters will also see this, the link out there to go to this site also, where they could also match up who their elected officials are, based on names on the ballot and so forth. So I want to thank Technology Department for working with us on this. This is software that we did not have to pay for, that Rockdale County is being used as a business case. So this saved the county $15,000 where we did not have to pay for this. So we're thankful to have that. And also to thank Director Diaz for working on all the videos. These videos were prepared by staff in-house. We did not have to pay someone to go out or outsource to go out to prepare these videos. So we're very proud of these videos, and we hope that our citizens are too. If anyone needs to contact our office, again, our number is 770-278-7333. The first election is March 24th, 2020. That's the presidential preference primary. May 19th is our local primary. Early voting will start March 2nd, and all early voting will end on March 20th. And with that, Commissioners, I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Well, before I start with any questions, first of all, thank you so much. I mean, this is a lot of work. You all have gone above and beyond to make sure that the Rockdale voters are clear on locations, clear on dates. And I want to highlight a couple of things, and then I'll yield to the commissioners. One of the things that is particularly very appreciative by the senior population is to be able to have that sample ballot in the water bill. When we send that sample ballot out and it gets disseminated throughout the county, particularly those senior citizens, they'd like to have ample enough time, plenty of time to review that sample. That's a plus. People look forward to having that with them, the yellow sample ballot. And then the other thing, this is really exciting to accommodate our voters, is Saturday, March 14th, Saturday voting. For those folks who have busy lifestyles and schedules, and they just can't seem to make it back into the county based upon their work schedules and whatnot, this Saturday voting gives them plenty of options in terms of being able to get out there. And then I saw the simplicity of the voting machine. I counted, it was a 7-step process. I like that number 7. It was a 7-step process, real simple in terms for folks to be able to do. I've asked Director Diaz and his team to show the video location one more time, just to bring clarity about the 1400 Parker Road location, as well as the 2 additional locations. Don't want people to be confused. Where you are now, people will not be able to go where you are now.
Right.
They'll be going over to the 1400. And let me slow down and say thank you to Mr. Jeff Beach and Mr. Ron Farley, the folks over at Restoration Storehouse, who have entered into this community agreement and partnership to facilitate this opportunity on behalf of the citizens at Rockdale County. Yes, the county owns the building, but we have a current relationship with them, and they saw a community need to be able to facilitate. But before we go any further, I'm going to ask Director Diaz and his team to click the button again. I want to make sure they understand all these locations very clearly.
We're here on Commercial Drive in front of the new Board of Elections headquarters. It's just over the bridge on Parker Road. You can't miss it. The election date for the presidential preference primary is March 24th, 2020. Early in-person voting takes place from March 2nd to March 20th, with Saturday in-person voting taking place on March 14th. Thanks to Rockdale County leaders, we'll also have 2 brand new early voting locations, A north precinct located at St. Simon's Episcopal Church at 1522 Highway 138 Northeast, Conyers, Georgia 30013, and a south precinct located at Conyers Church of Christ at 1410 Flat Shoals Road, Conyers, Georgia 30013. Mail-in voting will take place from February 4th to March 20th. However, you'll need to request a mail-in ballot in writing by fax to 770-785-6932 or email it to absentee@rockdalecountyga.gov. The former Board of Elections office located here at 1400 Parker Road will also serve as an early voting location. Thank you for your support as we continue to make Rockdale County a clean, safe, and fun community to live, work, play, and visit.
So I had wondered about Saturday voting, if it would be at all three locations, but I see from the video that it's only at the Parker Road.
Only at the Parker Road location for the March 24th election, because
Yes.
we have such a low turnout to have all three of those locations open. We did not see that that was feasible for us. So, and we have to remember also the two additional locations, they have functions going on the weekend at the churches, and we did not want to interrupt that.
So I think we need to continue to emphasize 1400 Parker Road.
Yes.
Because we've been talking about the new facility being just across the street on Parker Road.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we want to make sure that everybody understands that it's the same old voting place.
Yes,
And there'll be signs over there, so,
we will.
yeah. Thank you for all the work. This is totally amazing.
Thank you all. Thank you all for providing the funding, because without the funding, none of this would be possible.
Commissioner Washington?
I would reiterate what Commissioner Williams said. It's amazing. You have done an outstanding job. I appreciate all the hard work that you all do. People, this is one of those behind-the-scenes offices that we can't work with. We can't function without you all's work, but you all don't get nearly the platitudes that other departments do. So I would like to thank you all for everything that you've done since I've been in office right now. But you all really stepped up to the plate and turned this into something that is amazing, and thank you so much.
Thank you all. And for any citizen, organization, community that would like for us to come out and demonstrate the voting equipment, they can contact our office. We have hired 2 voter education coordinators that are going out into the community to demonstrate the system, so we are available. Just call us.
Very good. Let's give Ms. Willingham, Pastor Sala, Renee, let's give them another round of applause. Pastor Al Sala has been serving on the Board of Elections for quite some time. Pastor, I want to offer an opportunity for you to come up and just give quick comments from an executive leadership level as a member of the Board of Election. You never have to get ready if you stay ready, Pastor. Yes.
Good morning to the commissioners and to all that are here. I just want to kind of emphasize a couple of things that Cynthia has mentioned. We do have the new voting machines, and I don't want people to get intimidated by the technology. So we want to make sure that everybody's trained and everybody knows how to use the equipment. And I'm excited about what we're doing in Rockdale County, and I'm bragging when I go to other counties about what we're doing here. So we're going to make sure that in our election that we have the best election that we possibly can have. and do everything that we can to make sure that there's no problems. And you know, when you got new technology, I worked in information technology for 35 years, there's always sometimes some kind of hiccups that happen. So, but we are hoping that this year, this will not be a problem, but just call Cynthia's office and ask her, you know, to come out, or her team to come out. And I want to, my hats off to them as well. They do an outstanding job in terms of what they do for the voters here. And we want to thank you guys for what you have done for us. And we're excited. We're looking forward to a great year 2020. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Pastor Sadler. Give him a round of applause. The spirit of collaboration throughout Rockdale County, the Board of Elections with Pastor Sadler, the Elections Office with Ms. Willingham and Ms. Pfeiffer, we certainly do appreciate all of what you all do and at the level of professionalism that you exhibit your work. Moving right along, Commissioners, this morning, I want to, at this time, Director Rutledge, I actually want to call up our Chief Magistrate Judge, the Honorable Finya Attend. Judge Attend, come on up, Judge. She's going to share also some exciting information.
Super
exciting information. There you go. All right.
Well, I thought of, I've practiced law for 14 years as a seasoned high-profile attorney, having numerous cases in the headlines and fighting on the courtroom. So I wanted to give a roadmap to what I was going to discuss today. I think approach, technology, education, national spotlight kind of hits it. One, I like to talk about the approach that magistrate court takes to being the people's court. A lot of people don't know the difference between probate, magistrate, state court, juvenile, etc. Well, like juvenile, magistrate court handles teenage cases. Matter of fact, this morning at first appearance, I had several students from a local high school. So under Georgia law, a child is treated as an adult as a matter of course when they are 17 years of age or more. So that means I'm seeing juniors, sophomores. They get into fights, get into other criminal prosecutions in Rockdale County. So I do a lot to make sure that I outreach to our youth in positive ways, whether they are scholars achieving well in school or they're getting into trouble, because we are the village that's raising these children. That's the approach I take, a lot of community outreach. My staff knows that I believe justice starts at the front desk. Many cases around this country, including our circuit, are resolved without court intervention. People work out a resolution or they decide that they don't want to move forward with the trial. So 90% of cases are settled without judges. That 5% that are, 5 to 10% that do need court intervention keeps us really busy in the courtroom. As you know, we run court 6 days a week at magistrate court. We have first appearance 6 times a week, including Saturday or Sunday jail first appearance. And that was something new that I implemented to make sure that the accused's constitutional rights were protected, as well as the victims, keeping everything fair and on board so that there aren't any technical difficulties that can congest a criminal prosecution. So that was very important, and we've been doing that for 8 years. The approach is also to make sure the court is accessible. We don't speak a lot of legalese in the people's court because most people are representing themselves, or at least there may only be one attorney on one side of the case. So it's very important for the other person that's representing themselves not to feel an atmosphere of intimidation, that the court clearly enunciates its neutral, impartial decision-making position. And I think we've done that very well in the courtroom, making sure there aren't any inappropriate ex parte communications. That is, one person talking to the judge when everybody should be part of the conversation and listening to everyone. You may say, well, that might take a lot of time. People will be in court for a long time if the judge is listening to everybody. But first of all, that's what the Constitution requires of the United States and Georgia Constitution. And secondly, actually, we won one of the most efficient courts in the state. You may have read in the paper that our magistrate court ranks 5th in the state for caseload management. And we're very proud of that. I couldn't do that alone. With the help of the clerks who work very hard and the bailiffs who facilitate the exchange of paperwork, because everyone walks out of there either with a judgment or their next court date. They know that. So we have a very low no-show rate for the reason because we're communicating with the public that's interfacing with the court. So yes, when we start court, we rock and roll. And some nights, because of the volume of cases and giving everybody an opportunity to be heard, we do go after 5 o'clock, but that's very rare. Most of the time, we're able to finish the court's business at 5 because we have to. Magistrate court is 24/7. So we've got a lot of paperwork for those 90% of cases that have motions, that want default judgments, want writ of possessions. So I actually work, as you know, weekends, after hours, and I'm proud of that work ethic, and I'm proud of all of the sacrifice that my staff has made to make sure that we rank 5th in the state out of 159 counties. Just to give you some perspective, the closest metro county that ranked anywhere close to us was Cobb County, and they ranked 11th. And we do that with 1 courtroom and 1 full-time judge and a small but mighty clerk staff. That approach, I believe, is moving justice forward in our county, and we're not resting on that ranking. We want to get to number 1, but we are proud of being 5th in the state and in the top 10 percentile. Technology. I'd like to take up first where we are today because I know it's on a lot of citizens' minds. I got calls starting last week about the computer outage that we're experiencing as a countywide network. I want to assure those that use the magistrate court that we are open for business. Our regular hours, all court sessions, criminal and civil, are still rocking and rolling. I've been in conversations with my staff, even over the weekend, about how we are going to manually input certain information. There'll be a lot of things we can't because we've had a unified Odyssey system, unified electronic software that the sheriff, the clerk of courts, the state and superior court uses, probate uses since 2007, so for 13 years. But I do like pen and paper, and so we are making sure that transfers get over, criminal transfers get over to state and superior court clerk's office in a timely manner, and that our basic essentials are being met. And I want to just thank the collaboration of the sheriff's office. They have been pulling the inmates manually without the intervention of the computer to make sure that court is starting on time. I appreciate that. On the good side of technology, I want to thank Technology Services, Deputy Director Maurice Finklin, who's acted as a project manager to get us to Quicket. Quicket is going to make ordinance violations, code violations, animal control violations, etc., quicker, because citizens will be able to pay their citation if they want to admit responsibility for the citation online. It's also going to streamline what I consider to be already efficient operations in that regard, because the county attorney who prosecutes code enforcement cases, my office and the code enforcement office will now be able to put everything in electronically. We were doing Odyssey, but not everybody had access or what we needed to make it paperless. So we're going to be able to do that now, which will streamline the clerk's work because they won't have to input paper citations anymore for the majority of cases we have. Not all departments that write citations are on board yet, but the vast majority will be covered through code enforcement and animal control. I'm also excited about education. Staying with ordinance violations for a moment, I'm in communications with animal control that reached out to me. They want to do a animal cruelty prevention course for those who may be neglecting their animals, don't know how to properly care for their animals, tying them to trees rather on the runner system where they can be hurt, and leaving them out maybe in inclement weather. We're going to have a class that will help them improve, because I'm all about prevention and restorative justice. Restorative justice means we're going to reduce repeat offenders. Truly, when people have education, they have power, and as we say, when you know better, you got to do better. So it's going to lead to more accountability, but it's also going to make our pets and our community safer offering that course. We already offer courses like that for stores that sell alcohol to underage minors. We already offer programming for people that face mental health challenges. In all of our criminal settings, we have opportunities to interface, and Stepping Up initiative is going to give us even more. I'm glad to know that we have program manager Brenda Ernest now for the last couple of weeks that has been doing observation for all our criminal hearings and then offering an opportunity for us to get ahead of those that face mental health challenges that are in our criminal justice system. As many of us know, the jails around the country are the #1 mental health care providers. And that environment is not necessarily conducive to treating mental health issues. So I'm proud of what we're doing on that front. For 8 years now, I've been requiring inmates who have either mental health issues, behavioral health issues that cause them to act out in a violent manner, domestic violence issues, to have assessments by our local mental health community. They have assessment tools, and they're able to customize treatment if needed for individuals that are going to be released back into the community because they're either facing misdemeanors and the law requires that they be released while they're waiting trial, or that's in the interest of justice that they do and be able to wait trial in the comforts of their homes, going to work every day, being productive citizens, and taking care of their families. So these initiatives have made Rockdale safer. In fact, the jail release, I believe it was at one of the mental health symposiums that you offered, Commissioner Williams. You may have heard Lieutenant Pass give that statistic that we are seeing a recidivism rate reduction at about 13%. That was from 2013 to 2018. And that's because we're at the gateway of the magistrate court in conjunction with our other collaborators, Judge Mumford, who has the mental health court, Judge Bills, who has the domestic violence court, and the jail that's seeing and treating all of these inmates on the front end. We've been able to get that recidivism rate. And what that basically is we're not seeing the same offenders.
Very good. And Judge, for the sake of time, give me your meat and potatoes on your upcoming camp.
That's right, education. Yes. So going back to our youth.
Now, I think you say your camp is closed out. Is that?
For 5 years, though, we've offered a camp for 8th to 12th graders interested in public safety, as well as legal careers. They want to be lawyers, judges, chief of police, and sheriffs. And so, yes, we are closed out for the camp. It's on March 17th, 2020. Full day of learning, mock trial, mock legislation.
March 17th?
March 17th.
Okay.
However, February 17th. Okay. I'm already ahead because what I want people to know is those that are on the wait list now, and those that are wanting something positive for their children to get involved in and learn about these careers, we will be piggybacking off of the camp. I believe that the county or the commissioner's office is going to offer during the spring break. We will have a one-day symposium for youth.
Fantastic.
That will not mimic the camp, but it'll have some of the same features. So
that
our
is
students
open.
will have
That portion is open?
Yes, and that'll be, we're asking everyone to save the date for the week of April 16th. We have not planned that exact date, but it's definitely going to be that week. And on education, I just want to let everybody know we have 2 things for people that come to the court. We have the Smart Justice, and we already have lined up 2 topics that we're going to cover this spring, one being mental health and the other code enforcement. So I'll come back and tell you more about those soon. And then also we have a publication called Just one sheet of information on all the court's major jurisdictional matters. We have a 1 sheet on abandoned motor vehicles now. If you want to know that process, it just changed September 1st in the General Assembly. Ordinance, you can find out information on ordinance, small claims, and landlord-tenant. Those Just One sheets will be available online soon, but they are now available in paper and hard copy. If you visit the lobby of the magistrate court, you can just come in and retrieve one. Good information there. National Spotlight, last wrapping up. I am so proud to have opened the AJC this weekend, Sunday's edition. There was Kimberly Hurd, our local Boys and Girls Club Youth of the Year, was there sharing the good news of all she's doing at 16 years of age to make a positive difference in our community and around the country. She's already visited the White House. And I just wanted to give that shout out to Kimberly Hurd, because Kimberly explains that her passion for community service came from working at the magistrate court and seeing how we help people every day of the week that we're open. And so, Kimberly, we are so proud of everything that you're doing. Also, the magistrate court is also in the national spotlight with myself being unanimously elected as a vice chair of the American Bar Association's National Conference of Specialized Court Judges. So that's all judges around the country that have a limited jurisdiction, whether they're doing traffic court, probate, magistrate, juvenile, domestic violence courts, veterans courts. They all come under the umbrella of this conference. So I'm proud to have Rockdale County on the map as a national leader, a judicial leader. And so I'll be offering a presentation. I'm actually been selected to do a presentation to train judges around the country on how to run an effective and efficient courtroom, where people are not shepherded through like sheep. They do get a chance to be heard. They do get customized individual justice, but also in an efficient, economical way. Thank you so much for being able to share
Let's give Judge Tim a round of applause. Wow. So much information, so many wonderful things coming out of our magistrate court. Judge Tim, we certainly appreciate the work that you're doing, particularly with our young people. And I do applaud your efforts of making sure that each person is heard and you take the time and do the due diligence to make sure that there's a fair practice across the board, and particularly educating our young people about the do's and don'ts. You also you started out talking about at 17 years and older, they will be tried as an adult. That is so important for young people to know and to realize. Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for coming out. You have beat my record in terms of being the longest-winded county official in Rockdale County.
Well, Chairman, look at it this way. We are so busy at the magistrate court, I don't get a chance to come over frequently and share.
So I'm going to start getting you over a little more because they've been giving me a hard time by being super excited and super long-winded. Let's give her another round of applause. Okay. We're going to go to Commissioner Washington at this time.
Just one, because this is something that the chair is really passionate about, code enforcement. Could you talk about the increase in what you all are seeing over there and the environmental court that you're trying to establish?
Well, it's already been established, so let me just talk about environmental court. When I was a practicing attorney, I had the pleasure of being a litigator in environmental courts around the state. And that's basically where you have an environmental hazard. Could be trash and debris, outdoor storage. It could be on the inside. You know, we had a case where the house was piled up so high that the occupants could barely make it through to the kitchen and the restroom. So those type of cases do present serious public safety hazards. So one of the first things that code enforcement, I made them aware when they beefed up code enforcement in this county, is if you have a hazard that is causing the public nuisance, it is considered level 1. Simply, you just bring in a citation, identify it as level 1, and that gets it on the calendar in 2 weeks. Now, the time standard, national average for code enforcement cases is 90 days. Because most courts that handle them are handling a lot of other matters, especially criminal, civil, and criminal misdemeanor, criminal prosecutions. However, they are important. So that was the first thing. Level 1, get on the calendar in 2 weeks. The other thing about environmental court is that there is strict accountability. So we want people not to be repeat offenders. We want them to be able to clean up whatever the violation is. So those are court supervised. We have found, and national studies show, when judges get involved with accountability, recidivism goes down, accountability goes up. So those houses are being cleaned up. We may have to reset them because some of the problems are so bad they need incremental steps of removing things. But we are making sure that they come into compliance. There have been very few cases where the county attorneys had to file a motion to revoke someone's sentence because they did not ultimately clean up the property. We also have added more accountability with fines, more equality. Because what I was finding is sometimes when you have a third party supervising the case after sentencing, the people might trickle in, they might pay, and they have the means to pay. They may pay $5, $10. Meanwhile, you've got a victim who's out $200, $300 in vet bills looking for that justice, that restoration, and they don't get it. Now with the court intervening and monitoring and through the environmental court, we're seeing collection rates go up 90%. On the last calendar we had just last week, I was able to check off all the compliance and almost everybody was in compliance, maybe 2 or 3 cases. So environmental court is rocking and rolling. When I came on the bench, I think we saw less than 100 code cases a year combined with the sheriff's office, code enforcement, animal control, et cetera. We are over, I believe, 500. Now Odyssey is down, so I wasn't able to run the actual report before I came. Otherwise, I would have been a little bit more long-winded giving you some statistics. But I do know that when I was asked a few weeks ago, that we were up 500. So hats off to the public defender's office that is defending some of the individuals charged in those cases. Hats off to the county attorney's office that is plea negotiating and prosecuting and trying all of those cases. And hats off to the enforcement agencies that are taking the complaints, vetting them, and determining which ones merit adjudication and judicial intervention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, moving right along, Director Rutledge, I've got one more individual to bring up, none other than Pastor Winston Menzies. He's going to talk about his new publication as it goes through a focus on character and a message to our youth and a message to all. Pastor, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be with you today. And I'm excited about this. Just have to give you a little history. You know, God always uses impossible people and impossible situations to prove his point. I was such a one. And I nearly failed. If I had a little time, I could convince you, but I nearly failed the first, second, and the third grade. Made bad grades throughout high school and elementary school. Was in trouble all the time. Got kicked out. Failed algebra, so on and so forth. Which it was all right with me because I was just trying to have a good time. But when I decided to go to college, and little kids always want to be somewhat like their dad. My dad was an Air Force pilot. And so I tried to go to the same university in Texas where all my relatives, great uncles and dad and brother and all my cousins went. They, of course, turned me down, said my grades were terrible and my SAT scores were worse. And so I couldn't go there. So I went to another college in West Texas that was part of the Texas A&M system, got in the Corps cadets it is. And I said, you know what? I believe I've got a problem and it's me. And I'm going to have to do something about it. And so I don't know why, but I started studying character. And I got on the drill team, and by the end of that year, as my grades shot up, don't worry, I didn't scare into the A's at all. Not a lot of that, but I did get much better grades, and became best drill freshman in the Corps. Imagine that. I didn't even know we had such a thing. So I went back to Texas A&M. Long story short, between my junior and senior year, all those that were going to be officers in the Army had to go to ROTC summer camp at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And we knew from the get that they were going to give us a number based on our scoring and leadership and whatnot from 1 to 2,000. And so I had studied the character trait of goal setting, and I said, well, I'm going to be number 1. And I said to myself, nobody has to tell me I don't have any business being number 1. I know that. I know it better than anybody. But I'm going to do it anyhow. Even though I didn't really believe it, I was going to do it, I did it. Well, I didn't quite do it. I came in number 2. But you see, something had to change, because if they had an award in high school for the least likely to succeed in life, I would have got it. So something changed. I was a no talent, bad grade individual, not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and something changed. So went in the Army. I was a platoon leader in 82nd, then became aide to the commanding general. The same kind of results, unbelievable results. First company commander was a Rhodes Scholar, attended this class at West Point, airborne ranger. We loved him, thought he was the greatest thing smoking. He liked my work, I guess. He said I was the most outstanding lieutenant he'd ever known. Now, I'm telling you, beginning right here, I've never told anybody this for 50 years. I've lived here in the county, and all my business partners and elders and deacons and family members, nobody knew about it. I wasn't ashamed of it, but I just always felt like I needed to decrease so that God could increase. So I would never tell you anything but my mistakes and my flub-ups and so forth, but I never tell you my success. When I wrote this book, one of the reviewers said, well, Brother Winston, you're going to have to share your testimony because otherwise people won't know if it really works. And so I said, well, this is something I really don't want to do, but I guess I'm going to have to. So then I got the job as aide to the commanding general. Long story short, competed against the best they had in the other two brigades, got the job. I don't know, he mixed up the paperwork or something, but I got the job. And I was the junior aide. He had two. He had a captain and a lieutenant. The captain went with him all the time. I stayed in the headquarters. I was kind of the chief cook and bottle washer. The gopher, I did whatever needed to be done, wrote the letters, kept the calendar. And it works in the military. You've heard the saying that stuff rolls downhill. So I was the least ranking officer in the building. Everybody else was captains and majors and colonels and generals. So anytime anything went wrong, I got blamed for it. And from time to time, the general would come in and say, well, what in the hell is going on? Why is this so screwed up? And I learned in the Corps, you always say, no excuse, sir. Never proffer excuses. And so I said, man, when I leave here, I'm going to catch it. They have what's called an efficiency report that you get every 6 months or when you leave a job. And I said, man, it ain't going to be pretty. Well, the general was a lot smarter than anybody thought. He went from buck private to 4 stars. And he gave me the highest report you could get. And there's a little block on it. It says promote to the highest positions in the Army, and another one that you never hear of anybody checking. And it says this officer does this job better than any officer I know. He checked the box. And then he gave me an Army Commendation Medal. Went to Vietnam, was company commander twice, had a tremendous combat command reports. Between the two companies, I was an assistant operations officer for a combat battalion. And each of these people that write your reports, they don't know what the previous guy said and they don't care. They can either help you or they can hurt you. It's completely, and your whole life is in their hands. Well, this guy did the same thing. He said, this officer does this job better than any officer I know. Something had to change. I was still a no talent, not the brightest guy in the world, individual. The only thing that changed was my character. And it's such a powerful thing. Then this work, I won't go any further, but in the real estate business, unbelievable. Was able to start a commercial real estate company here in Atlanta that grew and was very successful, had market dominance years ago on the east side of town before God called me into ministry. Also started a building company with $100. Unbelievable what God can do with not much. Amen. Started a church and pastored it 17 years. Then God has repurposed me to get this book out. Been preaching in the jails and prisons since about 85. I've been in Rockdale since 88. And some people ask me why I'm still there all that time. I said, well, the pay is out of this world. You wouldn't believe how many people get saved at Rockdale Jail and all these other jails and prisons. We have a staff of about 10 or 12 guys that preach for me, different places. We just started in Gwinnett County. They got veterans-only jails, and they've asked us to come in there and teach character. We've been teaching it at Fulton County Jail. Captain Pass at Rockdale asked us to co-partner with them and teach character at Rockdale Jail. We're glad to do it. A good friend of mine is a banker, and he got with Governor, what's the governor's name? Kemp, yeah. Couldn't get it out of my filing cabinet. To give a copy of the book to every prisoner in the state system in Georgia. It will stop just about, well, not completely, but it'll completely change the recidivism rate because they'll have the talents they need to perform and succeed. There's one scripture that I'll give you this morning that is more powerful than we ever thought, and that is 2 Peter 1:5, where the Bible says that if you will add to your faith very diligently, not just add, but you've got to do it very diligently, and it gives you 7 character traits. If you'll just change those 7 character traits, then I promise you, he says, you'll never stumble. The Amplified says never fail. You'll make your calling and election sure that's your job, ministry, or office. And you'll have a grand welcome into heaven. I kind of like all 3 of those. How about you?
Amen.
Now, It says if you don't, you're going to be short-sighted to blindness, stumbling, unproductive, and unfruitful. So how do we see a lot of Christians today? Just like that. What did they forget? They forgot to be diligent about adding character to their faith. Now, what's he saying? He's saying that this is really powerful stuff. That's what God's saying. And, you see, we were all born the same way, flawed. We were born in sin, shaped in iniquity. We've got sin in our members, and our mind is so messed up that it will lead you to death, a way that seems right that leads to death. And so he says if you just change, you got 7 really bad attitudes in you, change them to 7 positive attitudes, and you'll never stumble. Amen?
Amen.
And so that's quite exciting to see that happen. We're seeing this thing go wide open, and what's important? Why is it important here? Because we've got a lot of problems, and you're all aware of them, with out of birth teens, out of wedlock teens, drugs, gangs, you name it. There's problems. This can solve it. And the Bible says to let the father, Psalm 78, teach the children to teach their children generationally how great God is, and that's his character. Have never made it easy for fathers to do that. This book does.
So, Pastor, I want to make sure you take an opportunity as you wrap up to give us a contact number where those who are interested in your wonderful book, Character, they can reach you directly and pick up a copy of that book. If there's a site where they can go to actually order that book offline, if you would take a moment to do that, and we'll move forward with the remainder of our meeting.
All right.
I'm so appreciative to have Pastor to be able to come out this morning and share such a very profound and very positive word on character this morning. I think for so many reasons, all of us can allow that word to resonate in our spirits. Pastor, you've done a fantastic job. We appreciate the work you're doing, particularly with your prison ministry here in Rockdale County with Captain Captain Pass over at the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. Thank you so much. Give us that number so they can reach you and we can move forward.
Sure. My phone number is 770-833-9999. The website for the book is thecharactertraitjournal.com.
Thecharactertraitjournal.com. Pastor, if you would stick around, there may be a couple of folks who are curious about your book, want to inquire about how they can get it to some youth groups and some other groups.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Let's give Pastor Winston a round of applause. The wonderful work he's doing all around. Thank you so much. Lots of super excited news that we've had this morning as we move now, Commissioners and Director Rutledge, we're moving now for the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The approval of the minutes from January 21st, 2020 and January 28th, 2020.
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. There's no unfinished business. We're down to item number 7 for the consent agenda. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I move to approve the items on the consent agenda.
I second that motion.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Fantastic. We are now down to the regular agenda, and there is none. So we're going to move right on into public comment. If you haven't had an opportunity to fill out your red comment card for public comment, we want to encourage you to do that at this time. Thank you so much, Ms. Newsom. While we're waiting on public comment to get started, I think we'll expedite our movement and we'll have Director Rutledge to go ahead and read the disclaimer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
Thank you so much, Director Rutledge. First up is none other than Mr. George Kellichek. Come on up, Mr. Kellichek.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Citizens of Rockdale County. Frederick Douglass stated in the 1880s, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. I have two items this morning. In your Envision Rockdale strategic plan for Rockdale County 2020 through 2024, a couple of the threats are outdated infrastructure and limited sewer capacity. I had the opportunity on February the 6th, wanted to let the citizens know that I went by 1421 Spring Road, which parallels College. There was a sewage spill there. I've been in contact with the EPD. There has been a file reported from Rockdale County to the EPD. They are currently correcting the problem temporarily, putting out lime and straw. It was 151,000 gallon that came out of the sewer area, and I'm getting a report from the EPD. There's been an ongoing problem since 2001. I'm going to find out what it has cost the taxpayer so far in fines. This needs to be looked into by this commission, and we need to try to find a permanent fix. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I've been here several times to talk about stormwater issues. On May 2018, you came out to my property, looked at the situation of my property along with three of my neighbors. You asked me to get 3 estimates on my pool, which I provided to you. Mr. Cosby stated that the deteriorated stormwater culvert was too small to accept the 61.4 acre watershed that flows into that property. You also told me not to go to the media and not to retain an attorney. It's been 19 months. I've been forced to go to the media. Channel 2, Channel 11 have already reported the public safety hazards and the imminent danger at these properties. 2 of the residents will not be able to gain access to their property soon because of sunken driveways. I've also gone and posted on change.org, which is an organization that goes worldwide. We've already had several hundred signatures to ask this commission to fix. I do have a meeting with Senator Perdue today, and I will be in Washington, D.C. with U.S. Secretary Sonny Perdue in 2 weeks. You always ask me, let's talk. I'm ready to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kellichek, and thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Next up is Ms. Carol Nayland. Ms. Nayland, it's been a while since we've seen you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Carol Nayland, animal rights activist. I've been here many times to talk to the board about ordinances. Nobody has ever done anything. But when I came upon something the other day, I read the ordinances again, and changes have been made, unofficially and illegally. Changes have been made. And you're all involved in it. Doreen, Sherry, Jennifer, and Quader. Because you all signed it. You all signed it. You're all in the loop. What does this mean to you, Rockdale citizens? It means that all persons having access to the ordinances can make changes at will. Isn't that crazy? What can we do? Let's vote all of them out. Let's get rid of them, get rid of us. Nesbitt, Chair Washington,
Mr. Chairman, may I take a point of order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
This is absolutely inappropriate discussion. No political comments can be made. No partisan politics is allowed in this forum.
Excuse me, sir, this is my right. I'm a Rockdale resident and I own property, I pay taxes. You don't have any right to
Mr. Chairman,
interfere.
you have the floor.
I'm gonna have to ask that you comply and that you would at
All
this
right.
time cease from any type of public political comments at this time, okay? You can save that for another setting.
Okay, I'll
Appropriate
save it
time.
and I'll be back. I'll always be back, you know that. The least we can do is to expect honest representation. And incidentally, all the board members voted to increase our taxes, and none of them pay any taxes. One's foreclosure, one doesn't own any, and one has a disabled husband. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Nayland, for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Next up is Mr. Elwood Collins. Come on up, Mr. Collins. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Dr. Williams, Ms. Washington, and Chairman Nesbitt.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm here to address the situation on the corner of Parker Road and Stockwood Highway. I want to find out if there's I know it's a state road, can a feasibility study be done to mount traffic cameras on that particular that traffic situation, because there've been several accidents, even I had one, and without any witness, I received the blame. And that's unfair to me. So as a taxpayer in the resident community of Rockdale County, if you could contact someone within DOT, see about mounting, a lot of people complain about no traffic signal and a camera to be mounted at the intersection where you have Synovus Bank and, up in that area, and see if we can be honest about traffic accident in that area.
Ms. Collins, I want to say thank you for coming out. I think, just for clarity, you're talking about Highway 138 at Parker Road.
Yes, sir.
Right there near the Zaxby's, right in that area.
Exactly.
I
Yes,
know
sir.
exactly where you
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming out and sharing. We will certainly pass this on to, as you know, and you stated it, Highway 138 is a state highway.
Right.
But we have certainly, through our transportation department and our leadership there, we have a direct line to the Georgia Department of Transportation. In fact, we've received some other inquiries about this very same intersection in terms of safety concerns. It is quite, I know when you're coming out of Parker Road trying to make that left turn onto 138, it is like playing Russian roulette.
Exactly, sir.
So we, in addition to our office reaching out on your behalf and on behalf of the citizens of the county, I want to encourage you, please help us help you by reaching out to your state representatives and your state senators. Those are the folks who are on the state level. As we know, Highway 138 is a state highway. Right. Now, certainly our office will pen a letter and get it down the road to the Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the great citizens here in Rockdale County. But you all can help us by getting a hold of those state representatives. They're going to come to you asking for your vote for election time, your state representatives and your state senators. Yes, put them to work. And we're going to do what we need to do, but I'm asking you to put those folks at the state level who handle the Georgia State Department of Transportation. Mr. Collins, thank you so much. We appreciate your continued support.
Thank you, sir, and you guys are doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. All right.
Can I just say that
Yes, go ahead,
there absolutely needs to be a left turn light at Parker Road onto 138, coming from both ways, Miller Chapel, because I sat at that intersection and it went through 3 or 4 lights because only one car could get through at each time.
And
so we hope you can fix that. Because it is a hazard, because people are turning on red lights.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Washington, anything on that point?
No.
We're going to move right along, going now to board comment, and I'll start with Commissioner Washington.
Good morning.
Morning.
First of all, I'd like to be the first on this board to congratulate the Rockdale County girls for their Region A. How many? There's a bunch of A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7A championship on last night. They went to Snellville and came back with the first region championship title since 1984. They went into overtime and came back with some good news for the county. So I'm super excited to announce that, and hopefully we can get them in here so that we can congratulate them permanently or officially. And that's just great news. I don't know, my daughter played basketball for the Rockdale County girls basketball team, so I'm a big fan, and I've almost gotten put out of several games, being the big fan that I am. So I know you can't imagine it, Chad. You can't imagine it. The other, I don't have much this week. This week went by too fast. It seems like we were just here yesterday, but it's a lot going on. But I do have a Black History, and I had to find that too. But my Black History person for today is Sadie Tanner Moselle Alexander. She was the first African American to receive a PhD in economics in the United States, but she also went on to be the first woman to receive a law degree from the University of Pennsylvania Law School. She was the first African American woman to practice law in Pennsylvania, and she was the first national president of Delta Sigma Theta sorority, serving from 1919 to 1923. And you all know, actually, she was one of the people that I admired most when choosing the career that I have chosen. So she's always been a great influence in my life, Miss Sadie Tanner Moselle Alexander.
Fantastic.
That's it. That's all I
Thank you,
have.
Commissioner. Commissioner Williams.
I don't really have any comments today. I think I've kind of commented along the way as we went today.
Very good. Next up, we'll bring Dr. Ann Kimbrough, our Director of Stormwater Management. She has an update. As you all know, we're experiencing a great amount of rain this week, and our teams have been proactive in Rockdale County, way ahead of the game. Chief Hambrick has assembled a task force, and they actually started this last week, and because of what's taking place this week, the team has really been way ahead of the game. We know it's coming, so we're prepared. Dr. Kimbrough, give us an update as to where.
Thank you, and that concludes my report. I had the word proactive 3 or 4 times. I do want to thank Chief Hambrick for organizing and assembling us in that war room. It's a lot of fun, and we had a great charge speaker yesterday who visited with us. It was you. So we want to thank you. You really got us going, and we got some good stories, and we know what gas stations to frequent. I do want to say thank you to all of us. Sideshow.
You pay attention.
Yes, sir. That sadly we have inherited 40 years of neglect in our infrastructure, and boy, has it been felt in the stormwater area. But with that news, we also want to tell you that we have been proactive. In fact, I just heard from us, looking at my text from the gentleman in the field, we have a small and mean crew. I say mean in that they are lean and mean. And this crew of about 8 men and a supervisor, so he also was able to get in the field. And Mr. Martin has informed us that they have been checking since last week, along with our colleagues in the area that we have been discussing. We've been checking all of those trouble spots, and we are monitoring them. And we have gone back again just to make sure. And we found other things. And when we see something else, we tell our other entities and our other agencies.
You say something.
We say something. So see something, say something. I'm gonna get all the phrases down and super excited. And we are inspecting what we expect. Is that right, Commissioner? Help me out.
That's him.
That's him, okay.
Seems like you've been here a long time, Director.
Yes, sir, it feels like it. I've got 4 pair of boots already. So, and very, very briefly, which will be different than some of the other speakers, we are aware of our troubled areas. We have about 183 miles of stormwater pipe, and we know of that about 133 miles of those, 183 or 73% of our pipes are corrugated metal, and that is not, it's not working. We're past our design phase, we're past our everything phase. But yet, the great news is that we are open for business. We remain open for business even during the unfortunate software and other infiltration systems in our technology. We're even accepting, and we found an uptick in our stormwater collections. And that's great. We don't know why. We're just going to accept it, and we appreciate it, and we have our drop box there. But even with our failing infrastructure, I do want to say very quickly, is that we're past the design phase. Our small crew, we're out handling those emergencies. We had a major one this weekend. We made a temporary fix, and we're going to add that to our list that makes us happy. Oh, that was not a good look. So we are addressing those most serious issues. And last but not least, we are prioritizing projects. We're prioritizing what we prioritized before and working with our entire team. We're all communicating. And I just want to thank everyone for being patient, especially our citizens and everyone else, because it takes patience. And we're all working together. We believe that we are communicating effectively. We've just updated our Facebook page. It was a little bit outdated. 2 years is not a bad time to be outdated, but it is updated, and we are trying to communicate more effectively. So with that said, I will pause. And, oh, how can I forget? I want you to say it, though. Say it slowly. Say the numbers slowly. I want you to say it to me. Tell me all the numbers.
You have to text them.
Everyone else said it. Okay, I'll say it. I will speak slowly for our main line. 770-278. I may not have a job after this week, but it's good. 278-7155. That's 770-278-7155. Please continue to call us and join our happy and lengthy list of trouble spots.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you.
She's going to have to sit over here with the angels.
Thank you so much.
She's going to have to sit over here with the angels next week.
Stormwater has taken on a new leaf. And Rockdale County is certainly moving in the right direction. I noticed that since we brought Dr. Kimbrough on board, we've had a tremendous amount of rain. And we're getting some storms,
Job security.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you like they told us in the 70s, please stand by. Thank you so much, Dr. Kimbrough. A great segue for the next person to come up, none other than Mr. Bill Cates from our Emergency Management Agency. He's going to tell us what Dr. Kimbrough didn't tell us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have good news.
Good news.
The rain did not come that we expected last night. We were expecting a little over an inch. We had 0.06 of an inch at fire headquarters. So the creeks are well within their banks. As of 8 o'clock this morning, the Yellow River gauge near Lithonia, Yellow River was at 9 feet, and the minor flood stage is at 13, so we're well under.
Yeah.
The same with the Milstead. We're at 7.5 feet this morning, with flood stage being at 11 feet. And Big Haynes Creek was at 6 feet, with minor flood stage being set at 12. So we're well within the parameters of the stream flows. However, the flash flood does continue through 7 p.m. this evening. North of us received quite a bit of rain. We have to monitor those river gauges that are in counties north and west of us, where those rivers flow through. The sad thing is, future forecasts are calling for more rain Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So we have a lot of opportunity to practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you. Bill works in our emergency management agency along with Chief Dan Morgan, who wears 2 hats as our Director of Emergency Management. They, along with Chief Hambrick and several of our ground crews, Stormwater Management, RWR, Rockdale Water Resources, Code Enforcement, Community Improvement, all of those teams have been working proactively as we prepare for this season of downpours. Chief Hambrick, you've gone a step extra in terms of some signage. Tell us about the signage that I think the Department of Transportation has put together to put out in some of these areas to give people some extra notice of precaution.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. In the spirit of being proactive, we observed in the last incident in terms of rain at the latter part of last week, some incidents that unfortunately occurred in Covington, Georgia, in one of the neighborhoods that was underwater, as well as one of the shopping centers that was underwater. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was those areas that were of low grade or below sea level, we wanted to make sure that we warned our residents of the occurrences. As we know, everyone may not be paying attention to the local news and things of that nature. So we wanted to get ahead of the storm and make sure that we had our RDOT crews post signage in those areas where if a torrential rain were to come and we put out the notice, they would already know that they are part of the list or in an area, if you will, geographically to vacate. And we're going a step further in trying to make sure that we are able to provide and kind of point them to some areas where they could be able to seek shelter. So those signs have been created and they will be distributed here throughout the latter part of the week so that they can be kept abreast.
Thank you so much, Chief Hambrick. Also want to say thanks to Chief Payne, who is with the Rockdale County Fire and Rescue Division Department, who have crews on alert. Oftentimes you see our fire department responding to several different types of calls because people are in different rescue situations. They are collaborating with all of these teams to make sure that Rockdale County is ahead of the game. We don't take any of this inclement weather lightly. This is a very serious situation for us here, and we like to be prepared. We learned a lot from the storm of April 19th of 2019 last year. We learned just how pressed and stressed our storm drains are throughout. And Director Kimbrough put a number to it, Commissioner. She says that we are 40 years of neglect in terms of storm drains being maintained and up to industry standards. She talked about the fact that there's still the old corrugated pipe that's down in the ground, and we've got to get people for 40 years. Nothing hasn't happened to address that, and now we're it, and it's almost like a game of tag, and we've got to deal with it. But it's 40 years of neglect and work that just has not been addressed properly. As you remember, when we took on board in 2017, Stormwater was simply a division. Now it's its own department, and it's getting the attention that it needs, and we're still 40 years behind. Our principal engineer, Mr. Todd Cosby, who does a fantastic job in that department, stated last year that he said during the budget retreat that the next 25 to 30 years, there's $222 million of upgrades and improvements that this county is going to have to encounter. That's a lot of money. I went to pay my stormwater fee the other day, last week, and I couldn't get in the door. There were so many people standing in line to pay their stormwater fee. And I was delighted to be turned around. And since I'm here on the campus, I say I come back. So I went back, I paid it, I got it paid, and the line was clear. I don't know what has brought on that uptick, but I'm so glad to see the uptick, because when I watch what has happened in our neighboring communities, down in Covington, when I see what has happened out in the western portion of the United States, out in Wisconsin, over in Alabama, communities are submerged in water. And if we don't do something about it now and begin to be proactive, we too are going to be underwater. And as much as I like swimming, I don't like having to take on that much water. And we realize the serious nature of a lot of our residents throughout the county have some very tight situations. Please, as the director has stated, be patient with us and pardon the progress as we're trying to prioritize all of the critical needs of what's most important when it comes to life and death and property. So please be patient with us. I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. As we move right along here, I also want to say Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh,
that's right. You
then
couldn't
again.
forget that this Friday is Love Day America. It is Valentine's Day all across the US of A. Don't forget to tell your husband, your wife, your partner, or your boo, Happy Valentine's Day. Make sure you do that because Friday is coming and it is Valentine's Day. Get ahead of the curve. And let me just say this, because my son, my youngest son, Evan, he's only 21. He said, Daddy, when you do this reminder, make sure you tell them that Valentine's Day is not just for the men to give to the girls, the guys or the ladies, but make sure that the ladies know that the men like to receive a little chocolate or a little something, or a little something. I get an amen over there, or a little something too. So men, go do what you need to do. But ladies, do what you gotta do.
Do you know this is
It's a Happy Valentine's Day.
It is a leap year, Mr. Chairman.
Say again?
It's a leap year.
So there's 29 days in the month of...
Which means every 4 years.
Hold on, I'm getting interrupted by Commissioner Washington once again. But she didn't think about Valentine's Day, so you're out of it. I'm down to my comments now, Commissioner. Stand tall, please stand tall. It is Valentine's Day on Friday. She missed this opportunity to tell you, but I'm telling you, so I'm super excited about that. My wife has been watching these BOC meetings, so honey, if you're watching, I got you covered. I also want to take a moment as we are in the spirit of Black History Month. You know, February is Black History Month all across our great land, and I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment during this Black History Month, as I'm a homegrown native of Augusta, Georgia. I have to give a tribute to the late, great godfather of soul, James Brown.
Yes.
That's right, Mr. Dynamite himself. As you listen to all genres of music, you will be able to hear a little bit of James Brown in the music. James Brown, the godfather of soul, died in 2005 here in Atlanta, Georgia. He was born in 1933 in Barnwell, South Carolina. He grew up in Augusta, Georgia, therefore calling himself a Georgialiner. There is a street there called James Brown Boulevard. And all of those who have the opportunity to visit the great city of Augusta, you can go down to Broad Street and there's a statue of the late, great godfather of soul, James Brown. He meant so much to music and certainly to the Black community. James Brown, very humble beginnings. I mean, literally nothing turned into something. So that's my Black history icon for this week, the late great godfather of soul, James Brown. And I will say that as he has many gold albums, one of the songs that just come to my head right now is I Feel Good. So I don't know what your favorite James Brown song is, but mine is I Feel Good, and that's the one. And I know Commissioner Washington just can't stand herself. She's trying to, go ahead and get in there, Commissioner. Jump in there. There's something you want to say.
Well, it wasn't about James Brown, but I was appreciating it. I have a hot off the press initiative that we just got the flyer from that I wanted to announce, if that's okay.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. One of our E's was economic development.
That's right.
And we have with the Planning and Community Development Department, along with other organizations, Stone Mountain Lithonia Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, Top Ladies of Distinction, Kappa Alpha Psi, and Alpha Kappa Alpha, and National Council of Negro Women. We're putting together an economic development forum to start the kickoff on this economic development plan. We will be discussing with residents what they would like to see. We would be talking to businesses about why they're not here or what we need to do to make sure that they come here. We want to start with collaborations on the next phase of development in Rockdale County. Everybody, the buzzword is economic development, but we want to talk about what it is, what does that mean to Rockdale County, and what are some current issues. So I said this is hot off the press. Literally, I just got a text saying that the flyer was ready. We've been working on it for a long time, but we just got all of the partners together, and I'm super excited to announce this initiative. It will be February the 27th, 2020 at 6:00 p.m. at JP Carr Center, which is 981 Taylor Street. So that's why I was anxious, because like I said,
hot off the press.
Hot off the press.
They couldn't wait. I thank you so much, and thank you for your efforts in terms of economic development. It sounds like it's going to be a very interesting forum, strong, steady, and sustainable. Thank you, Commissioner Washington. We've got a little bit more super exciting news. We have a brand new director of Rockdale Department of Transportation. I'm going to have Director, Miss Super Excited herself, Director Tony Holmes from Talent Management, to come on up and give us an overview about our brand new director in the Department of Transportation. Super excited, Miss Tony Holmes. Give Tony Holmes a round of applause.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I am super excited to be introducing our new Rockdale Department of Transportation Director, Mr. John A. Moretto. I'm going to share a little bit about John. He has experience, over 25 years, 20 plus years, direct experience in transportation leadership. He's worked with the Georgia Department of Transportation. He's worked with CH2M Hill. He has extensive experience in terms of working overseas in transportation, and we are excited to have him here. He has a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, and he also is a certified PE, so we are excited about that. I'm going to bring up Mr. John A. Moretto.
Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm very excited, to take this position.
You're super excited.
Super excited. Oh, that's right. Super excited. Yes, exactly. Very excited for this. Hope to hit the ground running and start right away. I plan on listening a lot over the next couple months, because as I've talked about before, not very familiar with the area, the surrounding, which can be a good thing as well, because you can see it with a fresh set of eyes, seeing new ideas. I have a lot of potential thoughts, but like I said, I plan on listening for a couple of months to hear and see what is happening, to understand what the Department of Transportation does. It's very important to be able to track what each person, what each crew does on a daily basis, so that this is for the community, for the citizens as well. It's very important for them to understand. I mean, this morning I learned that last year there were 1,200 calls in from citizens that Rockdale County Department of Transportation. They took it, looked at each one of those and addressed each one of those. So I plan on being able to present more of those, to be able to track that, because you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been. Right. And it's very important to look at that. And I'm very excited to look at other potential changes, some good things. Very safety oriented. Your comment earlier about stair at 138, and was it Parker Road? Is that correct?
Yes.
I've a lot of experience with traffic safety, and so I hope to be able to be able to take a lead in that, and help with the county as well on that. So I really appreciate your endorsement, the opportunity to do this, and I really hope to help the citizens of Rockdale County and the chairman and the commissioners. Thank you very much.
Director Moretto, welcome aboard. We're fortunate to have you. We look forward to working with you and moving forward with Rockdale County in the days ahead. Thank you so much. Give him another round of applause. One more E-word, executive session. Is there a need?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for coming out. Be safe on the roadways. This meeting is adjourned.